Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. This is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. You know, I call this an absolute win. I'm just going to start right off the top with the thumbnail. This is an absolute win. Now, why? Well, because it's an absolute loss. Follow me here. You know, when you look at my parents and other people, when we seem to have the happiest people in America, when we had the kids that had the best advantages, when they were raised with a loving, close-knit family, and men and women were a team. We all worked together kind of for the same goals. Well, since the laws have changed, men are unerringly hit harder during divorces than women are. They have to pay child support more often, they pay alimony, and the courts still treat women as if they make less, and not a little less, like as if they're still unemployed. And they give custody to women because moms are deemed to be the best parent, single parent for a child. Now, when they're very young babies and you want to breastfeed and do other things like that, that does actually make sense. But as they age, and America is very skewed as to the percentage of single parents, where in most other countries they try, if they can, to keep both parents involved in the kids' lives. So since the law has changed, and when a man decides to end a marriage, he pays dearly out of pocket, usually for it. When a woman decides to end a marriage, he, the guy, pays dearly for it. So it's kind of a lose-lose proposition. What is our way to fight back at this? Well, we try to fight in the courts, but oftentimes we lose the child support and the divorce cases. So the only way to win is by not playing. As such, they have found that marriage rates have dropped to the lowest level since they've been recorded. The U.S. marriage rate, let me try that again. The U.S. marriage rate drops to lowest level on record in over 150 years. I think of this as a win, but for society, for the public at large, it's a loss because it shows how failed the institution of marriage is and how uneven it is, and so men are not wanting to participate anymore. They say, this is from the Daily Caller, the U.S. marriage rate has dropped to the lowest level on record since the federal government began keeping the data in 1867. The Wall Street Journal reported Wednesday. Now, let me say this: during the wars, WW1, WW2, right, the 1910s through the 1940s, we had a lot of young men leaving the country to go serve overseas. This marriage rate is still lower than even then, when all the young men were overseas. The marriage rate's still even lower than that, to put it in context. The marriage rate fell 6% in 2018, with 6.5 unions formed for every 1,000 people. So if it's 6.5 for every 100, that's 6.5%. This is 0.65%. According to the National Center for the Health Statistics report. The report reflects how economic insecurity and changing norms are eroding marriage, which has plunged since the Great Depression of the 1930s, according to the Wall Street Journal. Millennials are in peak marriage years in their 20s and 30s, and it's still dropping. Sally Curtin, a statistician at the center, told Wall Street Journal, this is historic. The marriage rate rebounded sharply after World War II, when marriages hit a high of 16.4 marriages per 1,000 people in 1946, but beginning in 1982, the rate declined until 2009, when it flattened before inching upward in 2014. Declining religious observation and growing acceptance of cohabitation have also contributed to the marriage decline, according to the Wall Street Journal. There's some other things in here that I think have to do with it even more, and we'll talk about that in a second. Many couples are opting for cohabitation instead of marriage, according to the NCHS report of 2018. 17% of women and 15.9% of men aged 18 through 44 were cohabitating. The marriage decline has come for middle earners and those with only a high school education, and the bug pandemic may further discourage marriage due to financial insecurity. However, the bug could also result in a burst of marriages once restrictions are lifted and the economy rebounds. No, it won't. No. As a matter of fact, I think the divorce rates are going to go up even higher because a lot of people actually, I did a story on this where the lawyers are getting contacted at a higher rate because people are realizing they're not really compatible anymore. So let's talk about the reason why this is falling off. They say it's because of the instability and unsureness about income. Well, no, that would make it go up. If I can't make enough as a single person to have a family, if a woman can't make enough to have a family as a single person, but together our incomes would be enough, that usually will tend to make people want to get together. But with women making more, and the big push is for them to be equal across the board, which is fine. I'm fine if it's a fair equal, but you have to do the math correctly on this, and I just did a video about that on the women's soccer team. We talked about the incomes. It has to be even. The problem is, though, that if it is even, she gets custody most of the time, which means he has to pay for the children, but he doesn't get equal time with them. So he loses out on the family, and he loses out on money. What does he gain? Nothing. What does she gain? She gains the kids, she gains more money, and she gains the freedom to do as she wishes with other relationships or being alone or doing, following her dreams. She doesn't have to make any sacrifices for the family, but she gets the family and she gets the money to help her pay for that family. So the guy's left in the dust. Young men are learning this. They're seeing it happen from parents, aunts, uncles, you name it. I'm sure many of you, and I've heard some of your stories, have talked about seeing what's happened to other family members and saying, holy crap, man, I do not want to go through that. And then you watch videos out there and you educate yourselves and you realize just statistically, it's not a good deal for guys. Well, men are learning, and men are deciding to walk on the field, pick up the football, walk off the field, and not play. It's not going to be, hey, because if a guy argues with the system, the quote-unquote system, and the way things are today, he's labeled. He's always given a name. He's either he doesn't like women, or he doesn't like equality, or he doesn't like this, or he doesn't like that. And that's not the truth of it. He wants things to be equal, wants things to be fair. But instead, he's on the downside. But just trying to fight for that being even fighting for being equal even, is being frowned upon. Because, well, you have all the advantages, even though, again, statistically and from the courts, he has the disadvantages. So young men have learned what's going on. And middle-aged men, I've been married, and it'll never happen again because of the way things work out. Now, the first time I did like a Neo from the Matrix style bullet dodge, and I walked away with my things. She kept hers. We split the furniture and some other things. It was very equitable. But that doesn't happen in the majority of the cases. And so people are seeing this happen, and they say, something, the benefits, what are the benefits for a guy? And I've talked about this before in some of my other videos. What are the benefits of a man for being married? Maybe a family, but if she decides to leave, he loses that family. So that's really not a great advantage. Let's see what else. Yeah, exactly. There really isn't any advantage for a guy to get married anymore. It used to be she would be at home. And now I'm not saying this is the way it needs to be, but this is the way it was. You had the wife staying home. She would cook, she would clean, she'd take care of the household. She would manage social issues. She would manage the bills. She would raise the children. And the kids, until they went off to school, had a mom at home taking care of them. And then when they did go to school, many times, like my mother, she'd get a part-time job or something to get herself out of the house. And she was a dental hygienist and a substitute teacher for a little while. And then when we kids would come home, at say we were in our young teens, mom would be there. And then as we grew into our older teens, mom would work until 5. She got a full-time job, not because we even needed it, but she wanted the challenge and having that. So yes, she did put her career on hold for, we'll say 12 or 13 years, and then she went back to work. But I had a stay-at-home mom, and I can tell you how much the benefits of that are amazing, to have a dad and a mom in a household. Or even if you want to go so far as to say, and I know some of you may disagree with this, but even having a mom and a mom, or a dad and a dad, is a better deal. Again, statistics prove this. It is a better deal than just a single mother. It just is. So when you look at those statistics, you have to say, what is the advantage for a man? And it's nothing or very little. she has the options open. She wants to work, she's allowed to work. It's more income for the family. If she wants to be a mom, she can be a mom. Now she's a mom, she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, that is allowed. That's fine, socially acceptable. If she wants to stay at home until the kids are 2 or 3, then send them off to a daycare and she works, socially acceptable. If she wants to get a divorce and leave, and she gambles and wins in the courts, and she gets to keep the children, now she gets the kids who can still go off to daycare, and she gets her income, and she gets his child support, and in some cases his alimony. There's still all the wins for the women. The men don't have these advantages. Men cannot get married and say, I'm going to stop working now, and I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad. It doesn't work. It's because men are shamed for that. Men are looked down upon for not being the bread earner of the family. But why, when we talk about how much society has changed? You see, society and the perception of society and the perception of women has improved. But looking at guys, they still should be the bread earner because society says so. A stay-at-home dad is frowned upon. A man making less than his wife, frowned upon. Or in some cases, she leaves him for a man that makes more because women want to marry up. So the end result is young men have seen that this is not a good deal for them, and they're opting out. What do we need to do to bring marriage back? Let's just talk, because some of you guys have said, hey, I still want a family. I still want to be married someday. How do I make this happen? Well, I have a hard time speaking to that because there's not a lot of examples out there that really show it working well for men right now. And I don't have any personal reference because it hasn't worked out well for me. Even long-term relationships many times don't turn out so great for me. But I can say this, that the way that this is going to have to come about is that when a couple goes their separate ways, men still need to be involved in the kids' lives 50% of the time. 50% for mom, 50% for dad. Whether that means they alternate every other weekend, every other 5 days, every other week, however it happens, it has to be equal. Number 2, child support, no direction. Now, if dad makes $100,000 a year and mom makes 20, then yes, I can see him sending some support along. But not a ton, enough for the kids, not for her to live high and mighty. And the same's reverse. If she makes $100,000 and he makes 20, she doesn't need to be sending over massive checks for him. Enough to make sure that the kids are taken care of, but not enough that the parent can collect it and go get their nails done or go buy things. It's supposed to be for the kids only. So until the court laws change to where men and women can become equal parents, and it should be that way, and where the money doesn't have to flow back and forth as one direction or the other, then you've got a chance. When the alimony, if a woman makes $50,000 a year and she marries a millionaire and she's with him for 5 or 8 years and they go their separate ways, well, yes, she should not keep her lifestyle. She got that lifestyle by staying married to a millionaire. If she decides to leave the millionaire, or he divorces her, you go back to what you were making before. That's how it works. If I were to date a woman that's a millionaire and she takes me out on the town every night and we have a great time and I live high and mighty, and then we break up, do I have any right to her money? Of course not. Well, marriage is no different. If you were to grow a business together, then yes, but we have to look at this on a case-to-case basis. If you're both making $50,000 a year and all of a sudden the both of you make $1 million business out of it, well, that's something different. But time and time again, it's just, well, we always side with the women, and that's just the way it is. There's nothing to investigate about this. These are the way the laws go. Until those laws change, this is a good thing. Men walking away from marriage is a good thing because it'll either force women to change their behaviors and to become a more reliable partner where men are not afraid of marrying them and then getting taken to court. And 2, A and B, 1 and 2, B, that if a divorce or a separation does happen, the men are not going to be unfairly penalized. And until those change, this is the correct action. This is the way men protect themselves from being unfairly treated. Guys, let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you agree, disagree. I'd like to hear what you have to say on this one. Guys, if you want to support my work, links are below. Thank you very much for some of you that have dug really deep. I appreciate it. If my audio's gone a little wonky, for some reason, I think I'm having some problems here. So if there's some scratches and static, I've got a new microphone on order. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll try to get it fixed for you. During editing, if I hear any bad audio, I'll try to fix it. And if it's kind of weird, then understand what I'm doing. Not sure what's going on with that. Anyway, thank you all. If you want to support my work, follow, or comment, share, subscribe. Guys, I'll leave it there. This is Better Bachelor. I'm Joker. And remember, this is good news until things change to correct the problems we've got with marriage right now in society.